I don't think this video needs to be too complicated. It's just a conversation about two generational talents, both of whom are going to change the face of the NHL for years to come. One of them already has, to be fair. And so, when it comes to this conversation, as I said, it's just going to be straight up. We don't need to talk too deep. We don't need to break every individual part down. What we can do, however, is just go over a few numbers that I thought were intriguing to bring up, and these aren't even super nitty-gritty numbers. It's just straight up points brought to us from our friends over at Big Head Hockey. Because when it comes to the projected first overall pick in this year's draft, Connor Bedard, his season, his entire draft-eligible year, has just wrapped up. Because of this, we have ourselves the ultimate final conclusions we can make as to whether or not Connor Bedard had himself a season that you could even mention was in the same breath as Connor McDavid. Now, the other night, the Regina Pats were indeed eliminated from the postseason. They played a 7-game series and they ended up losing, but Connor Bedard in the process had 10 goals and 10 assists. He had 20 points in a 7-game playoff series with the Pats, and look, if that doesn't go out there and scream generational talent, then I don't know what will. Actually, you know what? I do know what will. Some of the other prospect numbers that we're going to take a look at here. Either way, before we head over onto that, I just wanted to show off that Connor Bedard was the first overall scoring player in this year's WHL playoff round for the first round. He had more goals and assists than most players had points. So, yeah, Connor Bedard was really good, and that's not really all too surprising, but let's continue on with the points we want to go over. Big Head Hockey made this tweet earlier yesterday after Bedard got eliminated from the postseason, saying this: Connor Bedard, after the World Juniors, regular season, and playoffs in the WHL, had a total of 70 games played, 91 goals, and 185 points. Meanwhile, you had Connor McDavid, who, in 74 total games played against the World Juniors, the OHL regular season, and the OHL playoffs, had 74 total games played, 68 goals, and 180 points. Connor Bedard, if you combine everything and total it up, had a better draft-eligible year than Connor McDavid. And you could debate that the differences between the WHL and the OHL make this feat even more impressive. This is because the OHL is primarily seen as a more skilled and more high-pace type of league. The WHL is seen more as a physical, more brute force type of league. Therefore, it's a common belief that it's more difficult for players that are more skilled and less physically gritty to produce higher point totals in the dub compared to the O. But either way, Connor Bedard went out there and outproduced McDavid in these categories. And if you go and break it down, it's easy to see where the points come from. Connor Bedard outscored Connor McDavid at the World Juniors because when McDavid was a 17-year-old playing for Team Canada, he only had 11 points in 7 games played. Connor Bedard, as we all kind of knew, he broke a whole bunch of records and he actually had 23 points. He had more assists than McDavid had points when they were 17, 18-year-old guys at the World Juniors. Connor Bedard also had a much higher regular season scoring rate than McDavid did. He had 57 games played and 143 points, 71 goals, and 72 assists. And, when I say it like that, it becomes even more crazier just to look at how many points this guy got in this season's worth of play. 143 points in 57 games played. He was almost at 3 points a game, over 2. It was over 1 goal and 1 assist per game. Connor McDavid, on the other hand, had fewer games played in his OHL draft-eligible season, but he did only have 23 fewer points. So McDavid, despite the injuries that season, was still obviously a very fantastic player, and it showed off in the OHL playoffs that season. McDavid had 49 points in 20 games played for the Otters in the postseason, but as we all kind of know, as we just talked about, Bedard did not have the same benefit of playing 20 games in the playoffs. He only played 7, and he still got 20 points. And so, just trying to compare it, okay, Connor Bedard had the much better World Junior route. You could say these guys sort of had similar regular seasons, if not for the injuries that McDavid sustained, and the playoffs were actually in favor of McDavid's point production too, but if you total everything together and you add up all the points and the goals in the games, Connor Bedard had more goals, more points in fewer games played than McDavid did when McDavid was Bedard's age. Now, what does that tell us about how things are going to foresee into the future? Not much. It's not really going to guarantee anything. If anything, Connor Bedard is probably going to have himself a tough time winning an Art Ross trophy as long as McDavid is in the league, but it goes to show just how good Connor Bedard's draft season has really been. Now, of course, McDavid does have a few edges over Connor Bedard in regards to draft eligibility and their profiles. McDavid is a bit bigger. He was bigger than Bedard was when McDavid, was draft eligible. And there was always sort of this notion that everybody knew what made McDavid so special. It was that combination of puck skills, offensive awareness, puck handling, puck decision-making, and most importantly, his speed. Everybody knew that this guy could skate around like Bobby Orr. He had the hands of Mario Lemieux, and he had the brain of Wayne Gretzky. That's what I believe it was Craig Button said about McDavid, back in 2015. But for Connor Bedard, he unfortunately does not have that same sort of profile, where McDavid is a high-flying offensive guy that carries the game through his legs. Connor Bedard makes you wait a little bit. Connor Bedard is a little bit more sneaky. He's a little bit more methodical. He's more cerebral. And where Connor McDavid lacks the number one elite caliber shot, Connor Bedard makes up for that tenfold. McDavid didn't really have the best goal-scoring, pure shooting ability compared to other guys like Matthews or even Laine in the drafts that they were eligible for. But Connor Bedard is the best pure shooting prospect we have seen since Matthews, and you could even debate he's even better than Matthews was when Matthews was a draft-eligible player. Bedard has such a beautiful toe drag release that you could even debate that it's amongst the best in the entire gosh darn world, and that guy is only 17 years old. He's going to make the NHL next season, and he's going to score goals and goals and goals, where Connor McDavid wasn't really the goal scorer that we know him to be today back when he was drafted in 2015. It took him a while to really develop that goal-scoring side, and it feels like this year Connor McDavid just kind of decided, he snapped his fingers and he said, hey, I kind of want to be a goal scorer this year, so I'm going to do it now. So there's a little bit of a difference in terms of how these guys play the game. I feel like if you try to really label what Bedard is as a prospect, I think Cam Robinson had the best description. Think Patty Kane with an Austin Matthews level shot, where it's not really the same Connor McDavid type style where he can just take the puck in his own end, skate by everybody and score himself, but rather he can slow the game down in the offensive zone and make a fool out of anybody that tries to forecheck him pretty effortlessly. He can dangle around guys, he can exploit open space, he can really just control all aspects of an offensive shift, where his teammates are, where they're going to be. He controls the puck, he can shoot it like a blistering bullet, and that's a little different than what Connor McDavid was in 2015. So, even though the points really do go out there and indicate that Bedard had a better season, we still gotta wait a little bit. We still gotta see how Bedard eventually transitions. He is still a phenomenal player, so we're gonna go out there and give both these guys their props. But at the end of the day, Bedard versus McDavid is a debate that's just getting a lot more interesting when you acknowledge where everything was 7 years ago, or 8 years ago, 2015 was a long time ago, my goodness. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about McDavid and Bedard, how this entire argument shapes up, and how you're feeling after we talked about the things that we had talked about. Who would you rather have on your team right now, McDavid versus Bedard? If you remember your feelings and assessments about McDavid back from 2015, how do those feelings compare to what we're feeling about Connor Bedard right now? I personally am still feeling the hype from McDavid back from 2015 because that was such a crazy draft year, but taking a look at Bedard, hey, I'm getting some deja vu right here. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Bedard versus McDavid. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.